Hello guys, here we are back again, part 5 already, and I haven't even uploaded part 3 yet. So today is the 2nd of May, so it's Thursday, and my magnets turned up in the post this morning. I only ordered these on Tuesday from eBay. Brilliant. A company called T7. So if you're looking for earth magnets, they do all the different sizes. Thoroughly recommend them. Ordered on Tuesday, turned up Thursday. Can't beat that. And they were like £4 for 50 of them. So yeah, really chuffed. Right, so what I need to do is look at adding these magnets, because I want the command module to be removable from the command service module, because I may glue this on, I don't know. But I don't want it to be, this is the base, and I don't want it to be all like loose and flopping about. I managed to get a perfect fit around here. If you look back at part 1, I think it's in there, or maybe it's in part 3. I've got a perfect fit around there, so that's all lovely. So what I need to do now is fit a magnet in there and fit a screw in there. So what I'm going to do, I've got this little, I think this is M1.6. Yeah, this is a 1.6 Allen screw, and it's got a 3mm diameter head, so it's the same diameter as the magnet. So what I'm going to do is replace that little nubbin on there with this screw. So that's the first part, and then put this magnet, the larger one, down in the top of here, drill that out and glue it in there, because basically I need this magnet to be stronger than the magnet that goes on top of the command module that's going to hold on the BPC. So I've got here a smaller magnet, and I've got a screw here which is, I can't remember what size it is now, it's 2mm, it's an M2 screw. So what I'm going to do is drill up through here so the screw is inside that plastic lump, and I'm going to put a 3mm hole in there, which is nearly 3mm already, and put that smaller magnet in that hole. And then when that goes on, it'll just be enough to just hold them together. So I've got this 3mm, rather than use a drill, because it's not very much coming out, I'm worried the drill will just corkscrew its way in and then it'll come out the other side. If you use one of these cutters, somebody asked where I get these from, I can't remember, but they're like Dremel tools really. So I'm going to go in here with this and just remove some material. And what I'm making sure I do, I want to make sure I don't actually go through. So what I might do is set the depth of this in here so that it's the same, so that basically I can see how far I've gone. So the overall height of this is 18.5. So if I have this coming out of here, look at that, 17.5. That wasn't a bad guess, was it? And then I look at it across like this. I shouldn't go through, so I'll keep watching just in case. As soon as it's the beauty of having it white plastic, I suppose. I'll see it if it's going to go through. So there we go. So that's that drilled out. So now what I can do is that magnet will plonk in there. Okay, so that magnet there, I can stick to the end of that drill, and that's going to go into that hole. Right, lovely. So I think what I'll do is I'll use some epoxy to put these in, so I'll leave that one out for now. So what I need to do now is drill through the back of the command module with a 2mm drill, making sure I get the center. Excuse the squeaking, guys, sorry about that. I must remember to lubricate. My shaft. So I'm just going to drill up through there. If it comes out the side, it's not really an issue, because I'm not going to be playing with it. It doesn't need to be a perfect fit. I'm just going to tilt the drill over because it's gone slightly off center. There we go. Now I'm not sure what's the length of this. This is 17.4. So let's just push this drill up in a bit. So that should do us. That's about 17 millimeters there. Just double check. Yep, 17 millimeters. So if I look across, what I'm doing is basically looking across so I can see that the drill is, when the end of the drill holder, the end of the pin vise is flush with the back of the command module, I know I'm about there. I'm going to stop pushing now. So now this screw, I really don't want to break through, but I can see the drill inside there. Let's grab a little watchmaker screwdriver. Stick that on there. It's not magnetic, unfortunately. Hold that on there. Push it into that hole. And just gently screw it in. I don't want to break anything. So that screws in there now, and I'm not sure. Yeah, that will be strong enough, I think. If I need to, I can drill right through and have the actual screw so it's touching the magnet, and that'll give me a stronger joint. But for now, maybe I will go slightly deeper. But I would like to not break through, just for the professionalism of it, to make it more professional. Just looking at the light, yeah, that's got very thin up there. Oops. I can go slightly deeper. If you hold it up to the light, you can look across and sort of almost see an X-ray of what you've done. Okay, so that's about as deep as I want to go with that. So I'm going to put this screw in there. Again. And that's bottomed out now. So I'm going to mix up a bit of epoxy, and then I'll do the other work first, because I've got fast drying epoxy. So I want to do them both together. So there's one magnet for that one there. So that can go there. Now this other end, what I need to do is drill this out to 3 millimeters on this end. So what I'm going to do is go in with this cone cutter again. Cone cutter, this radius cutter, and try not to go away. I know that magnet is 3 millimeters long, so I'm not sure if this is going to reach the bottom or if it's fouling. I guess the best thing to do is try the magnet in there, I guess. Yeah, we can see that sat too high like that. Just keep drilling. Slight change of plan, guys. I've decided to use one of the slimmer magnets in both locations, because if I drill right through, I've got no way of holding the magnet in. If I'd done this before, listen to that rain. If I'd done this before I'd assembled it, I could have gone in from the back and glued it in from behind, but I don't want to risk having a magnet floating around in there. So so basically I'm going to use a shallower magnet and epoxy that in there. And then what I'm going to do with this one is I'm going to mark it first of all in the center on this side here. Whoops, that's not the center. That's more like it. And now I'm going to drill change the collet. It is pouring down outside. I don't know if you can hear it, guys, but I don't suppose you might know, because if it's pouring down with rain, I'm here doing this. And if it's nice, I'm not in doing this. Oh, I should have used a different collet. If I'm not doing this, I'm out doing something else, which means you guys don't get to see me make models. And I think you guys like to see me make models because you all keep subscribing and watching, which is brilliant. Thank you very much. And yes, I'm waffling again. I am the champion waffler of YouTube. I even waffle more than Harry Houdini. I mean, that's saying something. Right, so let's pick up that center hole. Couple of turns, just check. Nope, we're off to the side. So just push the drill over on an angle. Go on an angle and pick up, see if you can pick up the center. There you go. That's how you pick up the center of a hole, guys. If it's off, angle the drill towards which way you want to go, couple of turns, and then twist it up and hold it up vertical. Now I need to make sure I'm going straight through here because I want this hole to be nice and perpendicular, not all over the place. And then this should that Allen screw should drill straight into this. There we go. So that's gone through there. And now what I can do is remove that nubbin, sand it flat. Get rid of the lump. Leave a little bit, actually leave a little bit of the lump there for a seat for it to sit on. And I'm going to get my polishing stick and just polish the scratches I've just put in it. Oopsie daisy. And there we go. And it's good to do this before assembly, and you can play with it and get it right before you have it all together, which I wish I'd done with the service module, but never mind. So that's drilled out now, so I can just screw that into there. Look, there we go, that's in there. So I can put a drop of epoxy on the back to make sure it doesn't come out, and then that will sit in there like so, and the magnet should hold it down. So we've got our two magnets there. Make sure we don't brush them off the table with all our swarf and stuff, so these tools can go out of the way. So I'm going to get my little notepad, wherever that may be, get a piece of paper. That's a note I need to keep. Piece of paper, "5-minute epoxy." Right, so I've got a dirty board down because of the epoxy going everywhere. So got the epoxy mixed up. I'm just going to put some down in this hole. Let that run down in there. Then I should be able to grab a magnet with something metallic. Just put it in the hole. But it's not going to let me drop it in there because it's magnetic. So what I need to do is hold that like that, get my cocktail stick, push it down in and pull that out. And then I should be able to push that magnet down in there, and it's sat there in the epoxy. Make sure it's straight. So that's that one done. So I've got to plonk that, got my metal block here so I can make sure it stays horizontal so it doesn't fall out. That one will do the same. So let's put some epoxy in here. Pick up the magnet, push it into the hole all the way down. Then once again, like that, get the cocktail stick. Just run around that so that it's, you know, it's got glue around it. I'm just going to put a drop more in there actually. I don't want it to come out after it's painted. And then I think I'll get a cotton bud. Just see if I can remove the excess from the top. There we go. I think I'll do the same on this one. That magnet's gone sideways, look, already. I don't know why it's done that. Probably because I put it in a metal block. Just put some more epoxy down in there around that one. Is my clock going again? Okay, so I'm going to have to find some different way of holding them horizontally other than a metal block. Probably actually, there we go, Mr. Hobby cement ball. Perfect. It's probably good for this one too. No good for that one. Looks like I'll have to hold this one. Let's get another cocktail stick out. There we go. Don't quite know how I'm going to stand this vertically. It will stand up vertically. There we go. So now with some Tamiya thinners, I can just clean up my tools. I actually drilled after I'd put epoxy in, so the drill is a bit dirty. So I'll wait for that to go off and then we'll come back and see how it looks. Right, so here we go. About 10 minutes have passed. I've glued the base onto the command module now. So we've got our service module here. So that will sit in there. So that's on there, magnetized. Lovely, that's not going to fall off. And then the BPC has got the magnet in there and the screw in the top. I've had to slightly shorten that peg on the top, which is no big problem. And then that will go on with the magnet and that will stay on there as well. You can see it won't fall off. And then because this screw is smaller than this screw, the magnetic field there is stronger than the magnetic field there. The problem is if you had it the other way round, you can see here, this is an issue. When I put that in there, it's quite difficult to get that out of there. So put it on there and out it comes. So there we go, guys. So that's basically, I've used a 3mm by 1mm magnet in the command service module and in the BPC. I've used an M1.5 or M1.6 Allen screw, or hex head cap screw I think you call it, in the bottom of the command module, and there's M2 screw up inside that pin. So if you want to copy me and carry on doing the same, you know it's going to work. You need to drill that out 3mm obviously as deep as you can until you see the drill. I don't know if you're going to pick this up on the camera, but you can see a dark ring there. I can see the drill was just starting to come through. So that's where I've stopped. And this here, if I were you, I'd do this before you actually build the model, because you could actually draw that through, put a piece of plastic card on the back, and then just glue that in. You know, I was going to go in from the back and everything, but I thought, no, I won't bother. It'll all be okay. And it's worked out absolutely fine. So there we go. That's that assembly done. Just one more thing, guys. Should I want to play with my model, I can still pick up my lunar module, and that'll come off. I can put it on there and shake it, and it stays on there. It won't fall off. So I can, hey, back onto the lunar module now, and I'm just going to clean up this seam. This seam we've got here, and that's going to get some Mr. Surfacer just to clean it up, just in case the gold foil doesn't work. I'm looking for some detailed pictures to see actually how far up the gold foil goes. So I may have to buy the Revell 1/48 kit just to see what it's like. If anybody knows what it's like, let me know. In fact, by the time you see this, I probably would have already bought it. So they're all old kits. I'd like to be able to get, they used to do a 1/48 lunar module and command service module, but they don't seem to have re-released that this year. They've released all their other kits. A bit strange. So I'm going to get some Mr. Surfacer in that joint, and then I'll come back. Okay, so we've got those magnets done. I've got the Mr. Surfacer on the lunar module now drying. So I'm going to now look at these raised areas. If this is the first video you're watching, something that bothers me about this kit, and I believe the Airfix one is the same, is, I'm not sure if I can get it, camera. If you look, we've got a nice cylinder here, and all the smooth parts, it's nice and cylindrical. When we get to this detail here, we've got this, it raises up, it's sort of that shape, you can see it there, and it's the same here, you can see it on the end there. Okay, so my idea is to get that round as it is on the real thing, because to me that looks awful. The reason it's like it is, and I've said this before, it's because of mold tool technology. Now obviously when the mold tool comes together, it does this and then it comes apart. Now you can't have any undercuts, otherwise when the mold tool pulls apart, either the parts stay in the tool or it'll just drag the detail off. So if you had grooves going like this, these here would be, to be perpendicular to the surface, they would nearly be at 90 degrees to the actual direction of the mold tool, so it wouldn't pull. So what they've done, if you look at it closely, it's not actually vertical ribs as it should be. They've actually got its steps, so it goes along, out, along, out, along, out, and it's how it's, and it's not until you get to here that you actually get the vertical ribs. Now when they make these parts, they draw them out of the tool this way so that you can get the ribs all the way around, and it's a circular item. But when they make these halves, they can't. What I'm surprised they didn't do was make all these parts as a, like this, and then make the cylinders as two halves or whatever, or just make the whole thing as one big tube. So how are we going to get around this without buying aftermarket, spending loads of money and sort of making a career out of it? So I haven't done any yet. I've done none. This is my first time. I said I was going to practice first, but I'm not. I'm going to do it for you, live for you guys, so you can see how it goes. So what we're going to do first of all, I've got these scribing templates which are stainless steel and flexible. So I can sellotape these or masking tape these onto the actual smooth part of the rocket body, and that will enable me, if I slip or go over, that will mean it won't damage the actual plastic itself on the smooth part. So I'm going to do that, and then I'm going to put another piece right over the top, because you can see there it's sprung out already. It wants to spring back out. What you could do is put a rubber band around it, but I don't want to do that because it might get in my way. So yeah, you can see it's springing around all over the place. So pull that down there, pull that down there, and then this one should pull around like that. There we go. So that's that in place now. So now if I slip with my scriber, it won't matter. I can put one at the top. I'm going to see how I get on without it to start with. Now, scribing tools, you can use a pin or you can buy the Tamiya Scriber. This is actually an Alpha P cutter, it's called, but Tamiya put their own label on it and call it a Tamiya Scriber. This is my favourite form of scriber because you can use it with no pressure whatsoever. And all I'm going to do is, if I start up here, you can see I'm just going to run along and I'm going to make a groove perpendicular to the surface, how it should be. So I'm going to run along the edge of there and I'm going to just lightly scribe down there. We'll try 3 passes and see how it looks. Okay, and I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the stainless steel on this side so I can go both ways. I'll back in a second. Okay, so I've now got the stainless steel on both sides, so I can go into that groove there where I started and run along and come off the end. There we go. So you can see, well, you probably can't see because of this confounded white plastic, but I've actually made a small groove in it. Now I'm going to go heavier and heavier as I get towards the center. Now this is the first groove next to where I'm going to be doing most of the sanding. Let's just run off the end, run off the end, run off the end. There we go. So just going to give that second groove another going over. What I want to do is basically get so that the bottom of the groove is kind of level with the cylinder, and then I'm going to go into this one here, the other side. This is right next to the joint. I think the actual joint isn't it's a flat, so I think we'll be sanding the joint flat, which is a good thing. So we won't have to scribe through the joint, because that can lead to all sorts of nightmares if you've got lots of glue in there and it's soft, or it might got a crack or whatever. So there we go. And you can feel the scriber come off the end and jump down. What I want it to do is stay pretty much flush. And if we do get any damage, it's not a problem. Just go around with some Mr. Surfacer and then sand it again. Right, so going to the next one. Again, staying, but I'm not going like this, I'm not going like that, I'm staying perpendicular. Perpendicular basically means I'm staying vertical. If I'm looking straight at the tube in front of me, I'm staying vertical. For our non-English speaking viewers who may not understand what perpendicular means, I can assure you any word in their language, I don't understand any of it. So I'm just going to drag the end there just to make sure I get right off the end. Right, so let's see how that looks. This is the problem with white plastic, we can't see anything. So what I'm probably going to do is give this a quick coat of black so I can see where I've actually been and where I'm going. And then when we sand, we're not going to lose anything. What I don't want to do is lose this line. This is something I always do. If I'm going to sand something, say it's a panel line, I scribe the panel lines first and then sand until they start to disappear, and then scribe again, rather than just sand them all out and then come back and try and replace them. It's easier to do it that way, and then you know where they were. But believe me, this is going to look so much better than the standard kit. I hope. I'm asking you to believe me, I don't believe myself. What I'll make sure I don't do is get in that in the actual seam itself. Okay, I'm just going to run off there. Yeah, I'm glad I put this stainless steel here, because I would be making a lot of mess of the cylinders if it wasn't there. Let's just pull that back, pull that one back, pull that one back. There we go. So I'll get some black paint on there now. I'll probably put some black paint on all 4 joints, and then we'll see what we're doing. Right, so we're painted now. I've painted all 4 areas that I'm going to work on stage 1. So We can see the seam in the middle, so I'm going to work to the right of the seam, and then the next one over, which is just basically removing the paint from where I've already scribed, and then the next one over to that. And then we know when we start standing, if these white lines actually no, I'm the wrong way around, aren't I? What I should do is scribe them first, paint it black. Yeah, this is the way to do it. Paint it black, scribe it so you can see what you're doing, and then paint it black again. And then when you start to sand it, if the lines start to disappear, as soon as you sand it, the lines will appear as black. If they start to disappear, then you know you've started going too far. So I'm going to have to paint this black again in a second, sorry guys. So yeah, paint it black to start with so you can see what you're doing. And there we go. So I've done 1, 2, 3, 4 on that side. 1, 2, 3, 4 on that side. There we go. There we go. So what I need to do now is paint that black again, already dark colour, and then basically when I start to sand, if the lines, I'm going to go one more, I'm going to go 5 either side. If the line starts to disappear, then we know we've gone too far. And if you notice, the scribing gets progressively lighter as we move out, because obviously we've got this sort of shape, so we're going to bring it round, so it needs to be deeper where I'm going to sand more off, if you follow me. There we go. And there we are. So I'll paint that black now again, and then see how it looks. Painted, paint's dry-ish, so now we can give it a rub down. Something I have noticed which is quite interesting is that this actual raised surface, this area is raised over this area, it's pretty much the same height as these stainless steel strips, so that's handy. So I can basically sand to those strips. Now I'm going to use this fairly coarse although fairly worn sanding board, because I don't want to be going up and down and ending up with this all sort of being up and down. So I'm just going to very, very gently rub over the top first of all to get rid of the seam. And you can see already those white ridges appearing where the raised areas are around the scribe marks. So that's all good. I really wish they hadn't used white plastic. It just makes it so difficult. If they use something different, you know, you could just scribe away now and see it coming darker, but as soon as I touch up the scriber, I've got to paint it again, which means waiting for the paint to dry. But I guess this is the first one and this is the experiment. If this works, then I don't need to be so worried about how it comes out on the next ones, or how careful I am, basically. And hopefully one or two of you guys will build this model and do the same, because I think this will make a massive difference to the appearance of the finished model. Now it's still slightly raised here, and we can see that at the end there I'm sanding down more than I am here, so I need to go back and just gently stay in the middle and just keep it like this if I end up scoring, probably best to do this before you do your seams actually. So if I end up scoring here or touching it with the sanding stick, then I know that I can just I can repair it with Mr. Surfacer. As you've probably noticed, Mr. Surfacer is something I couldn't live without. I could probably live without coffee easier than I could live without Mr. Surfacer. And I mean that. I absolutely love the stuff. Mr. Surfacer and coffee, that is. Yeah, those scribe lines are starting to disappear now. So, yeah, and the seam is in the middle of that one. We can just see the seam in the centre there. So I'm going to have to scribe, and then I think I'm going to paint again. So let's get in that line there. That's quite shallow. So let's just get in there. You can see, because of this confounded white plastic, as soon as you scribe, you can't see what you're doing. And just as a word, one of my followers raised a really good point. If you decide to build this kit, well, he was actually talking about the 196th kit. If you decide to build it, don't think you could just leave it white plastic and not paint it, because as he's discovered that over time the white plastic turns to a yellowy tan mess. So yeah, bear that in mind if you're building this kit. You really must paint it. There we go. In fact, what I might be able to do is actually use some black. No, I don't want to use black pen actually. I was going to say I could use some black pen. The trouble is with black pen, if you put black pen over there, it needs to be white. The black pen will show up through the white paint. It'll just keep coming back whatever you do. Okay, so that's that one there, and then that one there. As you can see here, these lines have got to be fairly deep. Go away. Make sure you run right off the ends, or that'll look odd as well. Okay, so actually I might be able to just rub. Yeah, I can rub my finger over it, and the dirt around the area is going into the groove, so that might be enough. Yeah, so there you go. You can rub down the black paint, and the debris of the black paint goes into the groove. So that's your friend there. So basically what I'm doing is rubbing away, and if I see the scribed lines start to disappear, then I know to stop and go over it again with the scriber. If you haven't got one of these, I really would suggest getting one, because they are brilliant. You can get the little trumpeter one. Where's that one? This little trumpeter one is great. It's very fine, but the trouble is it's not very well made. It's not very strong, and it'll go in there, but it doesn't sort of, this kind of cuts out a curd of plastic. It removes plastic rather than scratches it, if you know what I mean. It's kind of scoring, it's cutting out a slot rather than scratching it. Yeah, it's like the difference between gouging it and just scratching it with a pin. So yeah, it's called an Alpha P cutter, but Tamiya rebadge it as a Tamiya scriber. There we go. As I say, you can rub it with your thumb, the dirt goes in the groove, and it shows you how big the groove is. I'm just going to go over that one there again, because that one looks a bit shallow. Now I'm going to get a finer sponge and just go over that. And I think you'll agree, once that's painted, that's going to look one hell of a lot better than it did. I'm going to concentrate on the centre now. Make sure we don't get rid of that dome in the centre. Sorry, it sounded like I said make sure we don't. Make sure I do get rid of that dome in the centre. Once we hit the masking tape, which we have, then we know to stop. And now that feels to me very cylindrical. So one more pass with the scriber on here, off the end, 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 off the end. And there you go, guys. There is your Revell monogram 144th scale off tape, goodbye, 144th scale Saturn V without that raised triangular area. I hope you can see that there. Let's just get this tape off of this end as well. And now you've got the, you can see you've lost that dome shape where the joint is. That's just going to look so much better. If you look at it there, hang on, let's look at it there. You can see the dome shape where it comes up to a point. You look at it there, and it's gone. So I'm just going to quickly go over that again. Just to make sure we are nice and round. There we are. The quick scribe. I think that one there is actually quite shallow. It needs to go on over again. But at the end of the day, it'll all look okay because it'll just kind of blend in. None of this is correct anyway. You can see on here when you look at it on the end, you know, it should be like that, where you've got grooves, but it's actually like that, where you've got steps. Okay, you look at here, it's correct, you've got grooves. Alright, so I think that's a massive improvement. If you want to, you could go ahead and scribe all of it all the way around and kind of square it all up a bit, but I don't know, I think that's going to look absolutely fine. It's certainly going to look a hell of a lot better than it does as a as it comes out of the box. Okay, so there we go, guys. Right, I just realised I did the last little segment in half lighting, so hope you can see it okay. I can't sort of do it again really because it's here. So yeah, I've done that area there now and that area there, and just to show you the difference, if you look at the profile there and looking down along the length of the cylinder there, this is what I'm getting rid of, is that shape there and that sort of peak there. That's what I want to get rid of, is get rid of that peak. I don't like it. So there we go, guys. Like I say, give it a go. It's I think it's well worth doing, and I think it's the same on the Airfix kit too, so yeah, give it a go. And there we go, there's all four areas done. One side is better than the other, this side isn't so good. What I did here, I put sprue glue, if you remember, over that joint, and I shouldn't have done because basically the sprue glue, I lost my edge to work to, so it's not quite as clean as that side is. But I mean, it's such a vast improvement when you look at when you clip this part on, which is the ring, the interstage ring between 1 and 2. Basically, you can see that the, you've got a radius now instead of this stupid point sticking out. So I'm really chuffed with how that's come out. So I'm going to call it a day for this part, because this is quite a substantial part of the build, I think. So I hope you enjoyed that. It's unusual for me to come and speak to you at the end of a build session, but this has been part 5, and in part 5, as you've just seen, we've done these pesky areas here. If you haven't built this kit yet and you're watching these videos for a sort of bit of a guide, maybe you want to, if you're an experienced modeler, I watch builds to see kind of what the kit's like. You may be a beginner that wants to get some hints and tips, and yeah, all good. If you haven't done this yet, if you haven't built it yet, and you haven't done these seams, which are covered in part 3, I believe, you might want to do this before you do those seams. Really, I should have kept everything in line, but the trouble is with this model, you glue something, you wait for it to dry, you glue something, you wait for it to dry, you fill it, wait for it to dry, you do something else, wait for it to dry. So it's been sort of darting about all over the place, rather than a sort of, like an aircraft, you do the cockpit, you put the fuselage together, you put the wings on, you put the tailplanes on, you put the engines on, you put the undercarriage on. It hasn't been like that, I'm afraid. It's been darting around everywhere because I'm forever waiting for stuff to dry. I mean, here's stage 2, which is now to the Mr. Surfacer stage. Here's stage 3, which is at the Mr. Surfacer stage. I've got this part built up, as you know, and now looking at what I can do about these joins on here. I think I would like to have it opening so I can show people that visit basically how it worked, because I didn't know until I started building this model how it all worked. I didn't realise it came out and turned around and picked up the lunar module. So yeah, I'd like to basically have that moving. I think I might glue stage 2 to stage 1 because the engines are a mess. But anyway, I'm waffling. So I hope you've enjoyed this. It's been a lot shorter than the others, but I'm looking forward to part 6. I'm not going to be going through all these, doing these seams again. So basically these videos will start to stretch out. As I'm speaking now, as I'm talking now, I've done this. Part 3 is about to go live. So that's where we are time frame wise. So thanks for watching. I hope you've enjoyed this. And if you have, please subscribe, give me a like. And I really do think that even if you're not into space, you'll give this kit a go, because it's actually very satisfying, and for £23, I mean, it's just a bargain. It's a monster of a kit. It's got lots of parts. I mean, this little lunar module, it's lovely, the little legs and everything, and it's really nice, and it just sits there on your hand like that, like a little bug. So yeah, really nice. So go get yourself one and build it, or get the Airfix one. I think they're both pretty similar. But yeah, hope you've enjoyed it, so I'll see you all soon. Bye bye for now.